welcome to my second drawing for the historical series. I'm going to try speaking today using my voice and seeing how that works. I might alternate depending on what is most convenient for me at the time, but for now I'm going to go into our next figure that I'm drawing. And we're still in year 900 to 1200. It's going to be 11th to 12th centuries, and I'm focusing mainly on women for this series and mostly working class, but there are some gentlewomen and higher class scattered throughout this book that I'd like to draw as well. So we're just going to do a few different ones and keep it interesting. So today I'm going to do a young waiting gentlewoman or daughter of the house from the late 11th to 12th centuries. And my book says that she's wearing a gown of scarlet silk, which clings to the figure and touches the ground at the hem. It has been lifted at the sides to create some folds in the front, and it has a round neckline ornamented in silver. And the right sleeve has a deep cuff of Norman fashion. Its end has been knotted to keep it out of the way, and the left sleeve shortened for greater freedom of movement, leaving the forearm bare. The undergown is either not worn or its sleeve has been rolled back. Her flat slippers are of scarlet leather. Okay, so that's pretty cool. She is facing the side. This is going to be a profile view, which is a little different from what we're used to seeing. It looks like she is perhaps in a garden, maybe her family's garden. She's definitely living in a beautiful surrounding. She's not out in the fields. She is instead doing more gentle, womanly things like arranging flowers rather than growing them, and carrying in dishes of fruit, snacking, lounging, probably looking for a husband, depending on how old she is. It just says young in the description, so I'm really not sure. But back then, you really did want to be from a noble family if you wanted to have a pretty good quality of life, obviously. Looks like her hair is kind of covering her ears, and it's like at a low knot at the nape of her neck. Her dress looks like a long tunic. It says it's a gown of scarlet silk, and it looks like there is embroidery at the neckline. And someone from her class would have had embroidery on nearly everything. Fine materials and fabrics like silk were a must, and it showed your status. It's interesting, it said in the description that it doesn't show that she's wearing a chemise underneath. She just maybe didn't have to. I know that all of the undergarments from times past were partially used to protect the outer garments, so you didn't really have to wash them so much because they were made of much coarser, difficult to maintain, care for, and launder materials. So they would just get under things that were easier to launder and care for, and then just rarely wash the outer ones. That just made things easier for them. Okay, I'm seeing lots and lots of folds here. I'm planning in the future to do a couple videos on the different types of folds in clothing and how to draw them. This one in front looks like a diaper fold, which means it kind of scoops up. There's a tension point at either side. I'm seeing some pipe folds, which almost look like a big pipe organ. This dress just looks like it has lots and lots of fabric, which again shows her wealth. I'm just going to do her little shoe peeking out right here. They are flat scarlet leather slippers. Sounds very nice. And then right here is the long sleeve that's knotted. Again, the more fabric, the harder it is to walk around, the less practical it is, the better for your status and wealth. So it looks like she is carrying a bowl of fruit, and I'm using the original black and white drawings as inspiration, but adding color and also changing them a little bit as I see fit based off of my own tastes. So in some of these that means elongating the figure or doing a different expression on the face, just whatever I think it needs. Looks like she has some grapes in here, very fancy, some plums maybe. It's kind of hard to tell. Then I'm just going to go back again one more time and work her face a little more. Her hair is very interesting. It's like a long braid, but there's fabric covering it. It's like braided in with like a long strip of fabric, and it looks like there's two of them. Okay, looking pretty good here. And another thing I'm just maybe improving upon, you could call it that, from the drawings in the book, is I'm trying to improve on the fold placement and kind of just add to it. Drawing the folds on clothing is not an easy task. It's sometimes challenging, and you really do. It helps to have a live model, or at the very least, maybe some reference photos, because otherwise it's kind of difficult to just predict until you've done it a million times. Okay, that looks pretty good. Maybe in the back I'll do some sort of wooden platform or something. I don't know. Something vaguely architectural. Maybe with like a little base. With some long grasses and flowers in it. Nothing too detailed, just to add some interest and not take away from our main figure, but just to add a little something to the background. I like to do that. Okay, now I'm just going to go in with some paint. And if you didn't catch it, I'm mostly drawing figures from the Western world, Europe, England, France. That's going to be my main focus for this series, mostly because that is my own heritage. I'm very interested in it, and I think that in America there's so many people with European heritage, with French heritage, with Western heritage, that it's important to learn about where we come from and how people dressed and what their lives were like, of our ancestors. It's something that maybe not enough attention is paid to. And it's especially kind of interesting because we can see where those influences come back today in our styles that we still use. And everything comes back around, and you can even see from as far back as 11th or the 12th century that things just kind of keep coming back, and there's no real end to fashion and trends. And we can think that we're so sophisticated now, but the reality is people don't change all that much, and things are different in some ways, but in many other ways they have stayed the same, and they will never truly change because human nature, human taste, these things are cyclical. And to better understand the present, we must first become familiar with the past and tolerant understanding of it, rather than condemning things just because it's not modern or new. Okay. Now I'm doing the knot. And right now I'm just using a micron pen. This one is size 3, which is a little thick, but it was the only one I could find, so I just picked it up, and I hope it's not going to be too thick and heavy. I'm sure it'll be fine. Okay. It looks like there's jewels or ornaments on this. It's very heavily ornamented. Must have been very expensive for this family. Okay, we've got the grapes now. Now we're going to go down and continue her dress with all of these diaper folds, which is kind of a funny term, but I learned it this last semester whenever I was in school and taking a drawing strategies class. We had to do a whole module and assignment on different types of folds in clothing, what they're called, and how to illustrate them. And it actually was so helpful for me to be able to do this now with you. Of course, it definitely helped there, but I've already been doing this for quite a while, just out of my own interest. So it was just more of like a foundational building off of what I already was passionate about and interested in. But it was so interesting to learn the names for different types of folds, and to force myself to get better and to do it more because of these assignments. Okay, it's looking pretty good. Just going to lightly add in this podium. All right, now it's time to erase. all of our pencil marks, and things suddenly get much more beautiful and become much cleaner. And it honestly looks like, yeah, that looks good. Okay. So now we start painting. And then I tape down all of my sides so it will give me a nice frame afterwards, and the paint should not leak too much into this. I'm using a nicer kind of watercolor paper, and I would say to prioritize this if you can, because it helps for the tape to not rip off pieces of the paper when you remove it. The paper is much more sturdy and it holds more water and color without buckling or disintegrating. And I wrote down in the description what I used. So right now I'm just using some brown, like a light wash of it, just to illustrate the presence of some like rich wood. I should have probably done a little more research on what the interior of somebody's house would have looked like. I'm picturing her kind of in like a open courtyard area that meets the inside of a home. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm just going to use a lot of earth tones, and I think it'll be okay and everything will look good. I think the background, I'm thinking about like a stone sort of color. Maybe like a stone color for this area that kind of represents like a wall. And then I might do like a sky behind her to show it's like half in, half out. It's like a little fence. Just using my brush to estimate a straight line, which I can get in trouble here doing that because sometimes it's easy to make it crooked, but I'm just going to do my best and hope that that's going to work. Again, everything in the background is secondary, so I just like to make it kind of light. If you get anything on her dress, just try and blot it out because it's going to make it easier to not have things kind of like blur together. I think I made this line just a little crooked as usual. That's okay. Just adjust it a little there. Okay. And this is just going to represent, maybe there's like a little low wall here. And then maybe above it we have like a bluish sky. And we can go over this plant because we'll probably just go over it with green and that shouldn't affect it too much. Yeah, I'm kind of picturing her, maybe she's serving someone in her family who's sitting out out in the courtyard, and she's bringing them some delicious fruit from their orchard to snack on. I'm just going to kind of try and make this look like some sort of stone or something. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then maybe a brownish yellow. Oh, maybe not. I don't know what color I'm going to make this face yet. Let's just focus maybe on the scarlet dress. So she's wearing scarlet silk dress. That sounds very fancy. Very pretty. Okay. Do you want some paper? It's leaking just a little bit. I'm just adding in some highlights and shadows. Oops. Bleeding a little bit.
Just wait till you see the mountains. Oh, what pretty flowers.
Where the fabric pushes in and recesses, then that's where it gets darker and where I add the shadow. I try really hard to not skip past or edit out parts where I make mistakes, because I want to show you how normal it is and how human we all are. And how easy it is to just blot them out and keep going. Because whenever we do traditional methods with art, it's so, I don't know, I feel like it's something that people don't really appreciate or utilize that often, and we're used to sometimes the digital platforms like Procreate or Photoshop where you can easily edit out and erase any sign of human error, which is very convenient for certain things and great to be able to have that tool at your disposal. But at the same time, I look at children's books and illustrations from the past before all of that was available, and I just marvel at the beauty of the fact that I can see where they made their mistakes. I can see where they went outside of the lines. I can see where they covered up things that they didn't like with, I don't know, some sort of whiteout or tool that wasn't perfect. You could still see that they made a mistake if you have a more trained eye, but it was acceptable because we're all human and feel like human error, there's just more compassion for it. It says here that the slippers are scarlet leather, so I'm going to make them just a little darker than the dress for contrast purposes. I think I got a little too much water on here. Let's try again. But yeah, I've just kind of accepted that we're all going to make mistakes, and I'm going to make mistakes, and I don't expect my work to be perfect, even though it's so tempting to do it, and I'm a perfectionist at heart, so it's hard for me to have gotten to that point. But once you're there, it's lovely. It says that silver ribbons have been entwined into her hair. That is so romantic and lovely. So I'm thinking about how we're going to illustrate that. Right now I'm just going to put some skin color in. I'll blot that out and then add a little more. But about the digital art thing, I still do enjoy doing things digitally sometimes, and for my classes I still work primarily digitally, but I'm trying to change that because traditional art was kind of my first medium, and I just prefer it. I feel like my work turns out more the way I want it to when I work this way, and it feels easier for me to control. And something that I would do digitally, I feel like I can do it a lot faster if I just do it by hand rather than trying to figure out all the digital processes and hacks and things like that. It's a lot, so maybe it just feels harder to me sometimes, because I do feel like it's more about learning like a process, especially for a lot of the like shading and highlight techniques that I'm used to being able to do in a more simple way. So she has silver ribbons in her hair. Maybe I will make her blonde. I normally make my characters brunettes, but we'll do blonde today. She's going to have like a wheat blonde color hair, quite light, very fairy tale. We'll leave the top lighter. I'm kind of wondering if I have like a silver color in my color toolbox here. I have some sparkly watercolors that I'd like to pull out and see if I can get the effect that I want. Ah, it's so difficult to open suddenly. I had another pack and it was not quite this complicated. I'm thinking maybe I can do like a nice opalescent sort of color for her ribbon. It may not be perfectly silver, but it'll have some shine to it in the light, and I think that'll be kind of pretty. I actually got these ones on Amazon, although I have tried a few different brands from all sorts of people. I'm going to add just a little bit of this opal-y color to her embroidered neckline. And I have this bluish color. I was thinking maybe nice for just the darker parts of the ribbon.
Just speak a little louder, please. I'm not a butterfly. I'm a moth. Not a butterfly. A moth. That's it.
Yeah, that's nice. And I was going to potentially make this vase more of bluish color with doing round or circular metallic objects. You always want to have like the darkest edge be on one side, and then it slowly gets lighter as you get to the edge, and then it's just like pure white. Easier said than done. It's a lesson for another day. Okay, so this ribbon is less of a bright silver. It's going to be more of like a silvery blue. I'm okay with that. Perhaps it's more visible this way. Sometimes things change. That is okay. And we'll go ahead and make the serving dish similar thing. We'll do this like silvery blue. Maybe it's silver.
Very mysterious. Mysterious? I'm looking for mysterious creatures. I can give you a ride if you like, and you can look for more. Oh, yes, please. Hang on.
Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm wondering if I have any other colors that would make sense here. Oh, I do. I have some gold. That would be really nice, I think, for her hair. So just add a little bit of gold to it. Might as well, if I'm doing a blonde, to do the fun. Let's see if that's really working. Yeah, you can see it. It's just kind of faint. It's working a little better. Okay. She has some grapes, so let's give her grapes. Some purple. It's kind of fun to do the props and the settings. So you're kind of imagining like what their life was like, while also doing everything else. Maybe I'll do like a pear in there too. Pear, maybe something red like an apple or a plum. Then we have like a leaf here. Then there's some very pretty gemstones in here.
Excuse me, upside up woodpecker. Have you seen a nice little house with a chimney around here? It looks like this.
Now we're just gonna go back in again to the skirt. And I feel like if you go in a few times, just working on these shadows, it really just helps so much, bring as much dimension and richness to the gown as possible. And I want that to kind of be the highlight of this illustration anyways. Everything else is kind of just like a juicy bonus.
I thought you were a mysterious creature. Did you find them? Oh, yes. See? I found a non-butterfly moth, a non-stone turtle, upside down, downside up woodpecker. Oh, those sound very mysterious. Do you know how you find all mysterious creatures? I don't. I'm glad you made it to the woods, Mother dear. So am I, dear. So am I.
Women who were upper class, of course, didn't publicly wear makeup, but I think that sometimes they found some natural remedies to that problem because they didn't want to look like tarts, but I think that most of them probably snuck something on their face every once in a while to look like it was natural, but maybe it wasn't. Now I'm just adding a little bit of detail to this arrangement of leaves. Maybe I'll add some flowers in there too. Maybe some purple flowers. I don't know. Hopefully this is appropriate for the region she was in. Kind of look like lavender. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then finally, I'm just going to do some shadows and highlights. We're doing purple for our shadows. And that's where you really see it come together. And so I said we had diaper folds here, we have pipe folds here, we have half lock here, which is where your elbow comes in and bends, and then the fabric gets tucked up in there. Very fascinating. I just love and absolutely nerd out on that. On fashion vocabulary.
They're very beautiful. And then there are waterfalls and fast rivers and lakes. Beautiful lakes, and they look like they're two mountains, only one's upside down. And then, of course, where I live, there's lakes too. Lots of fishing. I like to go fishing. Oops. Well, they're only little fish. Oh, you don't mind.
Just adding a little more shadow to the darkest area. I say it a lot. I know it seems kind of scary sometimes to add like purple on top of something. You probably, it's so easy to just be nervous about kind of like messing it up, but I really don't think there's much danger of that if you're doing it like this. And with gouache, you can always remove color if it's just too much, which is easy. You know, sometimes we do add a little too much, but just get yourself a paper towel and blot out whatever excess is there, and you'll see that it kind of fixes the problem. Here I'm kind of trying to add in like a little bit of her shadow behind her on this wall. I just trace the shape of her outstretched hand and this like fruit bowl and just stretch it out a little bit and just hope for the best. And if it looks weird, then I'll probably just cover it up. Luckily, I think this time it worked out. Just a little bit more of this shadow. And the purple mixed with brown.
Amazing. That sounds like fun. You go on picnics with Mother Whale and Father Whale?
Okay. Just want to add a little bit more like darkness to the under layer where her dress meets the ground. Just to add like a distinct shadow in the places that I think really need it. It's pretty good. Like I said, nothing has to be perfect. It's just more about trying your best to get those details correct if you can. because everything you do that's extra will just add a little bit more believability to your work. Okay, and then last, I'm just going to put my highlights in, and I usually like to do yellow where the sun is going to come through and really just fall on the lightest areas. Everything, her face, her dress, her arms, highlights here, there. I just want to try and give things as much color and attention as possible.
Over there, I have to be third. I'd like to eat something.
I think that looks pretty nice.
Well, she's really, really thick.
All right, looks good. Okay, and I think we're all finished with this. Let's hope it didn't bleed too badly. No, it looks really good. Okay. Well, here she is. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please like, subscribe, follow, and share this with someone else who might be interested in history or fashion or drawing. I hope to have you hang out a little longer and keep viewing my videos and interacting, and I look forward to hearing your comments. Thank you so much. Have a good day.